Okay. Ms. Krysta McGowan is a double alumni, earning her bachelor's in fashion merchandising with a minor in business administration in 2011 and an MBA in supply chain management in 2013, both with honors. During her time at Clark Atlanta University, Krysta was involved in a variety of clubs and organizations, including the Lady Panther volleyball team, Student Government Association, and the California Club, just to name a few. Since graduating, Krysta has achieved much success and has held several management positions in aerospace and IT industries, which has allowed her to travel all around the world. Outside of her 9 to 5, she exercises her passion of image consulting through personal and professional development coaching for others. Krysta is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and continues to serve in her local and surrounding communities. She is a mentor, a leader, and is excited to be amongst our CAU family tonight.
Thank you very much for that introduction. We are just going to go ahead and jump right in with the presentation tonight. All right. All right. Oop. So everyone can see my screen, right? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Krysta McGowan, and I'm just really excited to be with you all on this evening. So thank you very much for registering for this event. I have a lot of information that I want to share with you all. So definitely have your pen and your pad or take notes on your laptop because we're going to be sharing some very important information. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. Again, my name is Krysta. I'm a certified image consultant. I'm the founder of Critique Consulting, and I actually started my business back in 2017 in January. And as Khalil mentioned, I have my fashion merchandising degree from Clark, and I also have my MBA. So really, I was looking for a way to kind of marry the two passions that I have for both fashion and business. And that's how I really started image consulting. All right, so before we jump into the content, I just want to go over some workshop etiquette for this evening. Now, right now, I'm the only one with my camera on, but this is a workshop. So I am kindly asking you all to please turn your cameras on if you are able. I would love for you all to be engaged and just see your smiling faces. And it really helps me in terms of feedback, just to make sure the information is resonating with you. So if you could, please turn your cameras on. Also, as we go through this workshop, just remain respectful of others. We are going to be having some discussions. And so just when anyone shares their opinion or their experience, just be respectful, as well as of me, the speaker. Also, we're going to keep our devices on mute. We will use the chat function throughout the presentation. So if you do have questions, feel free to use the chat function. You can raise your hand. I'll be glancing back and forth between both screens. And then also Khalil or Dr. Suri, if you also can just help me out there. If I may have missed something in the chat, please let me know. And then lastly, please participate and have fun. This is not supposed to be a boring conversation. I don't want to be talking to you all just for the whole entire workshop. So engagement and questions definitely helps me throughout this process, and it's going to help you as well. So if anything comes up, if anything isn't clear, feel free to go ahead and chime in with that question. All right, so first we have an icebreaker. If you notice, there are ice cubes in the background. So this is our icebreaker, just to get to know each other just a little bit. So if you could please, in the chat, I would like you all to please put your classification and also your word of the year. So if you've graduated already, you can just put graduate, but I want you to put your classification and your word of the year. What is your theme of 2022? I know oftentimes we have words that, inspire us or just kind of have a theme going into the new year. So I'm just curious, what is your word of the year? So I don't see anything in the chat yet, but I will go ahead and kick us off. So I have graduated from Clark Atlanta, as it was mentioned in the bio. And my word of the year is consistency. I feel like I start stuff, but I don't always finish it because I just stop doing it. So I think the consistency of continuing to do what I'm passionate about will definitely just help in my career and overall. So it's good to be consistent. Okay. Kayla, freshman patience. Okay, that's definitely a good one. Sierra, also consistency. Absolutely. We have drive, proactive, and patience. Okay, good. Does anybody want to elaborate on their word, why they picked it? Anyone want to come off mute? Okay, everyone's still warming up. That's all right. We'll go ahead and move on. And I graduated from CAU, so I am family. Please do not be shy with me tonight, okay? This is interactive, so feel free. I want everyone to chime in. All right, so in the email, it's kind of gave some bullets on what we're going to be talking about tonight. So it's going to be broken into 3 different sections. First, talking about making a positive first impression. We're going to get into some professional branding and kind of like a toolkit in terms of professional branding and things that you should definitely have as a professional. And then we're going to get into some networking tips and kind of some important people to make sure that you have in your corner. And then I'll also try to leave some time in the end for some question and answers. But again, if you have a question during our chat tonight, feel free to use the chat function, and then we can go ahead and address that live, okay? All right, so now I'm really gonna need some engagement. What was your first impression of me? Whether it was when you saw the flyer on Instagram or on your email, what were your first thoughts? I'm sure you probably thought something. So I just wanna know what crossed your mind in terms of me as an individual. So if you all want to either use the chat or come off of mute, and this is you can be transparent with me. Don't worry, my feelings won't get hurt. So I'm curious to know, what was your first impression of me? Polished. Okay. Thank you, Allegra. Successful. Okay. Business oriented. All right. Okay. All positive feedback. I'll take it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So first impressions. Honestly, studies have shown it only takes 7 seconds for someone to form their perception of you. Oftentimes it's less. It's probably at first glance or as soon as you start speaking. But by 7 seconds, someone has already determined whether or not they want to do business with you, whether they trust you, whether they feel comfortable around you. But within that 7-second span is really when that analysis really happens, whether we like it or not. So we're just going to talk about some tips for making a positive first impression. I know you all are getting into the AUC career fair and different career fairs. So I know we have people at different classifications. So as you start interviewing or even before that process, it's going to be important to kind of nail this piece of it, okay? So when we think about making a positive first impression, I want you to think about it as kind of planting your seed. Because really, when you plant a seed or when you meet someone for the first time, you really never know what could come out of that relationship. And that's for employers, that's for your friends, for your professors. So really, when you are engaging with someone for the first time, it's really that you're planting a seed. So we're just going to break down this acronym, and you can see SEED stands for smile, eye contact, your elevator pitch, and dressing for success. Okay. So we're just going to break down each one of these, starting with a smile. This is the easiest one. Okay. Actually, sometimes it's not as easy because I know for me personally, some people are like, Krysta, why are you so mad? And I'm just in deep thought or thinking about something. So always try to remember to start with a smile. It really shows that you are engaged, you want to be engaged with this individual, you're excited to meet them, you're approachable, and people will gravitate towards you if you're smiling. It shows that you're okay with being around people, that you're comfortable, you're confident, and really ultimately open to making this connection with this individual. Okay. So always remember, start with a smile. Next, eye contact. Now, this is extremely important because number one, it's going to show that you're confident. You come in that situation and you own it. You're looking that individual right in the eye, saying, I respect you. I'm engaged in what we're discussing, and I'm interested ultimately. I know that we are typically on our phones a lot, and we can easily be distracted. So it's important to just remember, maintain eye contact with whoever that you are meeting with. Okay, so that's the E. There's a quiz at the end, so I hope you're paying attention. All right, the next E is going to be the elevator pitch. Now, who on this call can you use the reaction function? Raise your hand if you have heard the term elevator pitch. Is anybody aware of that term? Okay, we have a couple hands. That's good. Okay, a few that have not. So, okay. So an elevator pitch is really just a brief introduction. You tell that individual who you are, what you do, and then also have a call to action. Okay. And this is a great way to meet people. It's just, again, your introduction to who you are. And it can be used really across so many different situations, whether you are interviewing or you're in a business meeting, you might be pitching your business, any networking events, also my pageant people. Will you actually use an elevator pitch, whether you realize it or not? And then just the list goes on. And this is something that is, as I mentioned before, very situational. So you can tweak it based on what you're doing, and it's also going to grow as you progress throughout your career. Okay. So there are a few key elements when you think about your elevator pitch. And the first one, as I mentioned, you want to start by introducing yourself. This is obviously the most simplest piece of the pitch, introducing yourself and also what you do, whether it's your job, whether you're a student, that's where you would introduce yourself. Also, you want to present the problem. So if you're interviewing for a job, it's good, obviously, to research the company. And then really, this is where you show, I've done my research and I understand you all are having some challenges in this area, okay? And that's when you present your solution. How are you going to help? Why are you the ideal candidate to meet the needs of that employer or the organization that you're looking to join, or whatever situation you're looking to add value to, okay? And then number 4 is share your value proposition. Now, this is a little bit different than your solution because this specifically says what makes you unique. And oftentimes people call it your unique selling point, or USP. You might see that acronym. But what makes you different than any other candidate? Yeah, you have above a 3.0. Okay. You're involved in other organizations on campus. You might be well-rounded, but what else makes you unique? What is that it factor that really makes you who you are? Okay. And then finally, add a call to action. Now, the call to action, a lot of times people are either too nervous to do this, or they might forget to add the call to action. And that's really when you leave the ball in the other person's court. So I strongly, strongly recommend that you're adding your call to action whenever you pitch yourself, okay? All right, so I'm gonna give you all an example of mine, and spoiler alert, you guys are gonna create one this evening. So just wanted to give you my pitch, and then we'll work on yours, okay? So hello, hi, my name is Krysta McGowan. I'm a certified image consultant and professional development coach. The pandemic has impacted college students across the nation and their interest in workforce readiness. Fortunately, I have a virtual workshop that can help fill those gaps. My unique and personal approach makes my workshops interactive and highly engaging. This is my call to action. I'd love to engage with your student body in the coming semester. Can I call you this week to discuss this opportunity further? So now I'm asking for the individual's phone number or email contact information so that I'm able to solidify our next meeting. Because if I were to say, hey, okay, take my card, call me if you're interested, they might lose my card, they might have forgotten about me, and it just leaves too many things up for, debate. So it's best to keep things in your control, put in that call to action, get their information so you can go ahead and make the move. All right, so we have an activity. As I mentioned, this is a workshop, so you're going to do some work. And I want you all to imagine that you are at the AUC Career Fair and you see your dream employer. Use the 5 prompts below and create your pitch to get an interview. So do exactly what I did. And I can go back to mine if you all need me to, but I want you to use these 5 steps and create your pitch. So I'm going to give you all, going to give you about 5 minutes, maybe 3. I'll check in at 3 minutes. And then we'll go ahead, and I'd like for at least 2 people to share tonight. Okay, so your time is going to start now. See if I can get you some working music.
Is it okay if you can leave yours up, the one that you showed us? Thank you.
Let's look at what I can write for present a problem. Let me turn. Alexa, pause. Okay, so Faith, you said you're stuck at what you can write to present a problem. Okay, do you want to come off mute and kind of talk through this?
Yes, sure thing.
Okay, so do you already have an employer or a job in mind? Where do you want to work?
We can say maybe Nike's headquarters.
Okay, so we're going to Oregon. All right, so Nike, a problem we can say, and obviously we can, I'm just making this up because obviously I haven't done any research on Nike, but we'll just say because of the pandemic, people are, what's your major, Faith?
Political science.
Ooh, political science. Okay, you can talk about some of the political, like the sweatshop issues that Nike had gone through. You can just say something along the lines of, I know you all have had some political challenges in terms of workforce regulations.
Okay, that's something to think about. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is just an exercise, so we can make up scenarios, make up companies, just to get your wheels turning. And once you have your, for anybody, once you have your pitch finished, if you could just raise your hand, and then if you want to share, and then we can go ahead and get started. Okay, thank you, Sierra. Something else in there. Okay. Oh. All right. All right, do I have any brave volunteers that wants to share their pitch? Don't all speak at once. Faith, you want to talk through yours?
I'm still kind of formulating mine. I thought about maybe changing it to working for someone's political campaign, but I'm still kind of
Ooh.
formulating it.
Oh, that's a good one. So you're basically doing your elevator pitch to a politician.
Yes.
Okay. Well, does anybody want to say that? Okay. Can you please tell me how to pronounce your name? I don't want to say it incorrectly.
Mutaz, ma'am.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Mutaz Muhammad, and I'm a freshman here at Clark Atlanta University. It seems that there have been less people pursuing agricultural jobs within the upcoming generation. I have recently entered the world of agriculture and also plan to encourage young minds like myself to get involved. I hope that we could meet soon and talk about where I can assist you in this endeavor.
And who are you pitching to?
I wasn't a specific company. It was more like
Oh, it was an agricultural company.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Oh,
Good
thank you.
job. And look at the freshmen kicking us off. I love it. Thank you very much. All right. Anybody else? And yes, that was Kenny G. Anybody else? All right. Well, that's your homework. So make sure everyone should have an elevator pitch, okay? Everyone. All right. So moving on. So we've talked about, again, with the SEED acronym, we said SMILE, we said eye contact, your elevator pitch, and now for the last letter, D, dress for success. Now, just in looking at this photo, dressing for success 10, 20, 30 years ago looked a lot different than dressing for success today, right? You have the company culture across different industries has changed a lot. We have dress down Fridays or casual Fridays. In the tech industries, typically you dress down. So really, I just kind of wanted to show that dressing for success is really based on your industry. So it's important to understand if you're going for an interview or once you get that job or even in the classroom, it's important to understand what is the company culture as far as dress, even if you're on Zoom, okay? Because the worst thing is you don't want to be on Zoom in your t-shirt and everybody else is suited up, okay? So again, understand your company culture. Also, I always encourage people to dress for the role that you want. If you come in day one and you're brand new to the company, let's say this is for an internship, you don't have to look like the intern. You can come in looking like the boss if that's what you want to be. If that's the goal, come in looking like the boss day one and really solidify your professional brand. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be introduced and you have so many opportunities simply by how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, and what you're wearing. And I've seen it happen. It's happened with me, but dressing for the role you want is key. Okay. And then lastly, we want to eliminate distractions. And I say distractions because there are, so there's a couple of things to kind of think about. Number one, in terms of jewelry. So when we have those very noisy bangles and things that make a lot of noise, even with giving presentations, it can be very distracting. And for me personally, I have a very short attention span. So if anything, makes some noise or something, I'm going to automatically get distracted and now I'm not paying attention. So also your clothing fit. If you're constantly pulling and tugging and, you don't feel comfortable in what you're wearing, or if something is just too big, it can definitely be a distraction. So just make sure that you are presenting your best self in terms of your dress. And again, you're dressing for the role that you want, not necessarily the role that you have. Does anybody have any questions so far? Or just let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay. All right, so now when we talk about building our wardrobe and dressing for success, the first thing is making sure that you invest in staple pieces. And a staple piece of clothing is basically something that's in your wardrobe that you will wear year after year. And this is because essentially it never goes out of style. Okay, so these are things like blazers or, polo shirts or white button downs, things that that's never going to be out of style because number one, it's not trendy. And one thing that I will say, please try to stay away from the trends, especially when it comes to things like designer. There's nothing worse than spending so much money on designer clothing that's a trend that's going to not be in style in 2 weeks. And we know how fast things go with social media, and you're always looking for the next best thing. So when it comes to trends, stay away. Focus on your classic pieces, build your staple wardrobe, and then it'll also be easier for you to get dressed every day. And then finally, know your body type and your colors. This is only going to accentuate you as an individual. When you know your body type and you're dressing for your silhouette, it just complements the way that you really carry yourself, and it really builds confidence. Also, our colors, try to stay away from the bland colors. And it's okay, like tonight I have on my pink, but actually I have on a full pink suit tonight, but it's okay to have some color. Also, it looks really good on our skin. So I know sometimes we try to stick with the blacks and the grays, but it's okay to have a pop of color every now and then, okay? All right, so if you're taking notes, please note this down. These are 5 essentials for any professional in a pandemic. So men, women, it's inclusive right here, okay? So the first one is a white dress shirt. Now this is definitely a staple. And when I said invest, you're probably gonna be spending a bit more money, because I would highly recommend that you invest in a material that is something you don't necessarily have to iron. I despise ironing. So if you invest in a material that is doesn't need to be ironed, then you eliminate that right there. And it is going to cost a little bit more money, but you're going to get so much wear out of it that really you will be satisfied. Also, the blazer. This is for your interviews or for your more formal meetings. And again, this is a pandemic, so this is obviously for a virtual setting. So you want to make sure that you do have some options to get a little bit more formal if needed. Now your cardigans, number 3, is going to be more for informal settings. And so this is something where you still look nice, you still look presentable, but you don't necessarily have to be in a blazer or a suit or something like that. Number 4, this is your conversation piece, your watch. And if you notice, none of these watches have any bling. These are very classic, clean, nice watches. And I highly recommend everyone invest in at least one, and you can get some. You can go to TJ Maxx. They have really good, nice watches there for a good price. Also, just go to the outlets. You don't necessarily, it doesn't need to be expensive. Nice does not mean expensive. So definitely invest in a good watch. It is a conversation piece, as I mentioned. And then finally, this isn't a wardrobe item, but having some nice artwork or a virtual background can also be a really good conversation starter, because it really just shows a little bit about yourself and just tells the person on the other end, just lets them in a little bit. And so in my background, I have a bunch of motivational quotes on my wall, as well as a map. I love to travel, and it's leopard. I'm addicted to that print, but it just kind of shares a little bit about me, right, on a personal side. So think about, thank you, Faith. Think about your background and just kind of anything that you want to let that individual know, because ultimately it will kind of break the ice. Okay, so I hope you all have noted these items down, and that you, if you don't have them in your wardrobe, I would definitely work on getting them before you start your interviews and before you start working. All right, so that's, now we're moving into section 2, building your toolkit for a strong professional brand. All right, so first one is a resume. Everyone, obviously, you know you need a resume from freshman all the way up. And this is a moving document, so you're going to be updating this consistently as you work through your career. And obviously, you know, it's important to focus on your accomplishments versus your tasks, because when you list your tasks, you don't really show the results that you made or that you've accomplished. So always be sure to highlight that. And I know sometimes with some of the younger class, and even the upperclassmen, if you may not have had an internship or a job, you can definitely focus on your campus involvement, and specifically any leadership roles that you may have had, because those are definitely going to be transferable skills when it comes to being in the workplace, even class projects as well. Okay, so now we're getting into item number 2, which is LinkedIn. And again, this is something that everyone needs, because LinkedIn literally puts everyone at your fingertips, and you can connect with individuals that you either aspire to be like, whether they're in a role that you're interested in, and you can just go ahead and make that connection. Also, one tip is to personalize your URL. So when you sign up for LinkedIn, it's gonna be your name and then a bunch of random numbers at the end, but you can actually edit that. So it's easier to remember, and it looks good when it's on your resume and even in your email signature. Also, use the About Me section to shine. This is the time to tell the recruiter or whoever about you, and just share a little bit of personal information. It doesn't have to be all professional, but this is gonna make you stand out if you really take time to dig into your About section. All right, and then lastly is your email. And I know most of you are using your cau.edu email address, but it's important to also have something, either Gmail or Yahoo or something else, because you're not always gonna have access to your EDU. So just something to keep in mind, but make sure it's something simple, something relevant that you'll easily remember and appropriate. Because I have seen some email addresses even now, and I'm like, why did you feel comfortable submitting your resume with this email address on there? So keep that in mind, keep it professional, relevant, and simple. Also, just some things to put in your signature. If you're comfortable, you can put your phone number. If not, put your LinkedIn website so they can easily, you know, learn more about you. And then also for some of my art students, or if you have a portfolio, this would also be a good place to put that website. Okay, so now we're getting into the third and final section. I hope you all are staying with me. But this is very, very important, because as you all are in college, this is the stage in life where you have the opportunity to build a very, very solid network. Okay, so I really want you all to pay attention to this section. So using the chat, you can put true or false. Do you believe that your network is your net worth? I'm sure you all have heard that saying. You think this is true or not really? Okay. So it looks like everyone thinks it's true. And sorry guys, and I agree. So make sure I have, so when we talk about networks, I like to call them your personal board of directors. And it's really breaking down into 3 parts: your accountability partners, your mentors, and your sponsors. So we're going to break down each section in the next slides. All right, so the first one, the saying says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Now that is deep, because depending on who your friends are, that might scare you or that might motivate you. I know I love my friends and they're some bosses, so I feel confident in my future. It's a very powerful quote. So as you're in college, this is the stage in life really where you're going to build those lifelong relationships and friendships. So these are the people you should be communicating your goals to. They should know what you're passionate about and what you're really striving to do, and they should support you in that. They should be checking up on you, making sure you have goals and that you're doing what you need to do to meet them. They should not be a distraction taking you off course. So I really want you to really think about evaluating your circle and think about who you're really spending time with, okay? This is not I know everybody, well, not everybody, but in college, sometimes it's a popularity contest and you're just around people just because they're popular. But when it comes down to it, it's really important to know who your real friends are, okay? Be intentional about that. Next is mentorship. Now, mentorship is very, very important. These individuals are actively involved in your career and they give you advice, whether it's in your life or professional, and are really there to coach you throughout the process. So I would recommend that you get a mentor that you're comfortable sharing these things with and being vulnerable and transparent, because really that's the only way that they're going to be able to help you. So mentorship is definitely key. And I have some CAU professors that I still keep in contact with that I consider mentors. So if you feel like you have a connection with someone, or if you just want to meet someone, reach out. If you find someone on LinkedIn and you know they're in a role you want, and you feel like you're able to build that relationship as it progresses on, I highly encourage you to solidify them as your mentor. And then lastly, sponsorship is key. And now sponsors are a little bit different than mentors. Sponsors are typically executives, senior level executives, because they're the ones that really create opportunities for you. So if they're not an executive, there's someone in a powerful position to really make things work for you. So if you do have a sponsor or someone that has taken interest in you, do not take it lightly. And understand how often they want to communicate. Just kind of set that expectation with them. I have a sponsor, but we meet twice a year. So it's not someone that I'm talking to on a monthly basis, but I know that they're in my corner. And these individuals are more at a higher level that just typically give you the professional advice. They may not be in your personal business, but again, it's up to you how close you are to your sponsor. Okay. Thank you, Khalil. Yeah, mentorship has provided you with many opportunities you may not have had without connecting with them. Absolutely, I definitely agree. All right, so we are actually wrapping up. We're in the home stretch. So this is the quiz. Don't disappoint me. Okay, before we get into that, that's a good question. Okay, so the question is, how would you recommend asking someone to be your mentor, excuse me. So I want to hear from a couple people, but I'll just talk about my own personal experience. So for me, if I have had some interactions with an executive, or if I see someone that's in a role that I aspire to be Typically, I initially reach out to someone I'm comfortable with, someone that looks like me, is who I've kind of had mentors as far as. So what I did was I just reached out, I sent an email and I asked to meet with them for 30 minutes. And I said that I wanted to learn more about their background, more about their career. And so when you do that, people love to talk about themselves. They love to share their backgrounds and really share knowledge with you as a student, as someone in your early career. So that was really how I broke the ice. I reached out, I sent an email, and I just said, hey, can I put 30 minutes on your calendar? Because you don't want to put an hour. Everybody's busy, but just say, hey, I want to put 30 minutes on your calendar, and I want to learn more about you, your background, and how you made it to the space that you're in today. And that's kind of how that started. Great question. Thank you for asking that. Does anybody else from their experience, if you have a mentor, does anybody else want to chime in and talk about how you got yours?
I'll chime in. For me, mentorship came from a place where I seen people in the community that were in places that I wanted to be in. And it came from me kind of reaching out and saying, hey, can I shadow you in like the job that you're doing, any events that you may be putting on, coming out and just seeing the work that you might be doing, right? And kind of being in those spaces with people who you might not be able to see on a regular basis and being able to connect yourself. And then from there, building with that person, just saying, hey, I love the opportunity that you put in front of me today. I want to know kind of how we can further this relationship wise to build like some type of relationship to where I'm able to gain more experiences like this from you.
I love that. And I think it's important, like you said, you started off by saying, I love what you're doing in the community. So you're recognizing, hey, I see you're accomplished, you're successful. What can you help me, get to that level? I'm interested in what you're doing and what can I do to support? Dr. Suri, did you have a comment?
Yes, I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder, but what Mr. Darden said, could that be considered a sponsor?
I think it depends. I think it depends specifically on the situation. If this is someone, and again, your sponsor or your mentor could really be both. It could be someone, that's making moves for you and that's at a very high level, but is still actively engaged. So typically the mentor is a little bit informal and formal, and the sponsor is a little bit more formal. So depending on the situation, yeah, it could have been a sponsor or a mentor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nyla, did I say that correctly?
Yes. I just also wanted to add, I actually talked about this in class this morning. It's very important that you connect with your professors because you never know what connections they have as well. So even if your professor won't be your mentor, if I am in Dr. Vett's class, I know he's been to several countries. He knows so many people that are connected to graduate programs or international programs. And that's what I am interested in after I graduate. So I'm going to talk to him and let him know my interests. And after I keep having those organic conversations, the next time he sees someone, he's going to think, oh, well, I have a student and you might want to talk to her. She might want to meet you. So definitely continue to build those relationships with people. Even if you're not looking for mentorship directly from them, you never know what connections they have as well.
I love that. That is so true. And you're taking the right steps. You're absolutely right. We have some amazing professors, or I should say you all have, some amazing professors on campus. So I highly encourage you to reach out. I know I hear a lot of times people say, well, I know they're so busy. Everyone's busy, but they are on campus to serve you. So take this opportunity while you have them at your fingertips virtually to get to know them and set up the time, let them know your interests. Like Nyla mentioned, know it might not be a good fit for them, but within their network, they're going to think of you when something is sparked and they say, oh, that's what Nyla said. Let me connect her. So don't be afraid to reach out and make that connection with your professors. Thank you for that. All right, so we are wrapping up. I have a few more minutes. So just want to give, again, just a quick highlight on what we talked about today: planting your seed, smile, eye contact, elevator pitch, dress for success, for a meaningful first impression, establishing your professional toolkit. So everyone should have a LinkedIn, a one-page resume if you're an undergrad, and what was the third thing? Oh, and your email address, a professional email address. And then finally, establishing and securing your personal board of directors. So that's your mentors, your sponsors, and we're going to be evaluating our circle or our accountability partners. Okay. So this is my new favorite quote. And it says, have a vision, be demanding. Because this is so important. It's important to dream big and to demand success. I know you all probably didn't think, hey, I would be, going to school in a pandemic or, you may not have gotten the internship or the opportunity that you wanted, but don't let that stop you in your pursuit, because you have to be relentless and demanding when it comes to that vision. God gave that to you for a reason. So don't let one no, thank you. Don't let that one no deter you off of your path. Okay. So number one, have a vision. And if you don't know what it is, or if you're unclear, pray about it. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm passionate about? I know for me personally, like I said, I have my fashion merchandising degree and my business degree, and I've done so many different jobs. I've done some work in aerospace, I've done some work in IT, but ultimately my passion is speaking in forums like this about professional development and really bringing your best self to work every day. And so my vision always comes back to me no matter what I'm doing. And that's why I'm being relentless in my pursuit to keep critique consulting going. And so I'm just honored to be with you all today. And before we close, I did just want to make sure that I left on a positive note. There's been, just with the pandemic, I want to make sure I touched on this with you all today, but with all the just not really knowing what's next, I know we've kind of all been holding our breath, wondering when we're going to get back to our normal spaces. And some of you might be experiencing some anxiety or even depression or suicidal thoughts. And I'm sure you've seen all the suicides in the media with such young people. So I didn't want to miss an opportunity to just affirm this with you, because I understand it can be very challenging to be in college and not really have it all figured out. I mean, I'm older than you all, and I still don't have it all figured out. So I know sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves of, oh, I need to make sure I graduate by this date, and I need to have this internship, and I need to pass this class with this grade. And we put so much pressure on ourselves until we just burst or flatline. And I just want to motivate and encourage you on today to let you know you're not alone. We are all figuring it out. If you ever need someone to talk to, please reach out and seek help. You all will get my information today. So like I mentioned before, I'm family. I'm a 2-time alum, Double Panther. So if you just want to send me a DM or an email or something, I'd love to talk to you and get to know you. So what I want to do, this is our last activity. I would like everyone to come off mute, and I want us to say these affirmations as we close the workshop. This is something I like to do just with all of my own workshops, and also just personally to myself, because it's important that we speak these positive things over our lives. So this is the only time I want everyone to come off mute. So can we just take the time to do that, please? And we're gonna say each of these affirmations, and then we're gonna close. All right, so I
One
have a
second, Ms.
few.
McGowan.
I'm sorry?
Ladies and gentlemen, before you all leave, there's a survey we want you all to complete at the end, so do not log off once we finish the affirmations. Thank you.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you for putting that in the chat. And I do have something that I'm gonna be sending you all, but you only get it if you fill out the survey. So please fill it out. All right, so are we ready? Let's start from the top. I am confident. Why am I the only one saying it? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I am
Real
confident in my ability to be successful.
I am
I'm resilient and will overcome any challenge that comes my way.
I am
I'm strong enough
enough
to seek help when needed.
my
My creativity will open doors for me.
I deserve
I deserve all of the opportunities and blessings that are headed my way.
that are headed my way. Thank you all. And I hope you believe it. Oops. And just keep saying that to yourself every day. It's important to speak positivity over your lives every morning, every night before you go to sleep, and just whenever you need an encouraging word. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all attention and engagement tonight. I hope you learned something tonight. But I know we have a couple more minutes, so let me just open up. Does anybody have any questions at all?
I have a question.
Okay.
When you was talking about the pitch to present a problem, is that when you're like trying to reach out to someone for like an opportunity or a position, or that's like when you get interviewed?
Yeah, so really that can be, it can really apply to both. But if you're trying to get an interview, you can, because you're showing that you've done the research for that particular company. So you're saying, hey, I understand, in the last year, you all have, your marketing needs a rebrand or something. I don't know, you probably wouldn't say it that way, but, and then that's when you say, hey, I'm a third year at Clark Atlanta majoring in marketing, and I think I'd be a great asset to your team. Can we meet? And what's the next step to get an interview? So that's kind of how you would present it in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else?
There's a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw, but it says, how do I work on eye contact with people? It's something I find awkward and hard to do.
Oh, yeah. So, oh, honestly, it's gonna take practice. Kayla, what year are you?
I'm a freshman.
You're a freshman. Okay, so you have time. But honestly, as you just have to practice. So any opportunity that you get, so start with your presentations in class. And I know it's kind of difficult with, being in a virtual environment, but really practicing, affirming yourself, being confident. And really, these are one of those things, this is one of those things where you just kind of have to put yourself out there. You're gonna have nerves, it's natural. Extroverts have nerves. I know a lot of people don't believe that just because they're always so bubbly and, outgoing, but they get nervous too. I personally am an introvert. So even me doing this tonight was a lot for me. So it's just something that you have to keep practicing, and then eventually you'll be more comfortable and you'll just kind of have your own approach with approaching people. So I just recommend you just continue to practice. It definitely can be awkward. I mean, for me, sometimes it's awkward too. So don't think you're alone in that, but I just highly recommend you just continue to practice. Don't feel bad about it, and just, you'll get it.
Hey, Krysta, can I add something?
Sure.
I would recommend practicing in the mirror. Take Krysta's advice and maybe join, if CAU still has Toastmasters, joining that, but going outside of your comfort zone, knowing that you have an opportunity to grow in regards to building that eye contact, practice with friends, have someone have a serious face and see how long you can stare them in the eye, but practicing however you want to speak, especially the elevator pitch that Krysta recommended, in front of the mirror and actually saying it, so that you practice looking at people in the eye. What you'll learn as you go through your career, that sometimes cultures differentiate, and that some cultures you'll learn, and some Asian cultures don't like to look people in the eye because it's a cultural thing. But when you're going to interviews, when you're asking for sponsors and mentors, they would like you to look for them in the eye. So that's an opportunity for growth for you. So practice in the mirror, practice with friends, practice with professors, but make sure that you have those opportunities to grow and don't look at it as a weakness.
Thank you, Shalana. Yeah, that is such a good point. And definitely take advantage. If CAU doesn't have Toastmasters, I'm sure the career, I don't know if it's still called the Career Planning Placement Center, but typically they do mock interviews and things like that. So take advantage, sign up for those slots so you can continue to get comfortable. Thank you for adding that, Shalana. Any other questions? Okay, well, I hope this was helpful tonight. Again, the survey is in the chat, so please be sure that you get that link. We are ending right on time. Yes, it's 7 o'clock. Did you have any last words, Khalil?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And again, I want to thank you, Ms. McGowan, for coming on and dropping these tips for everyone today. Everyone, like Ms. McGowan said, fill out that survey so that tomorrow you can receive what she's planning to send out for everyone.
All right, well, I think we are all finished. Thank you again for joining and good luck with this semester.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.